Yeah. Okay. So why don't we get started?
All
Okay.
right.
So my friends, we have a special show tonight. Our very good friend, TheSaroniteBomba, who also is a streamer amongst many, many other things and talents, had this great idea that he wants to start a segment. What was that segment called?
Today in Twitch TV.
There you go. Today in Twitch TV, where he interviews all the streamers that he gives lots of cares about, or something like that. and
That's that's about accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bomba's been hanging out with us for about half a year now, Bomba? Maybe longer?
More than that. Let
Yeah.
me see, because I am actually in the chat.
Awesome. Oh,
8 months,
months.
21
Yeah.
days, and 22 hours.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so it goes by in a blink. And over that time, we've been through a lot of things. And so Bomba, being the man that he is and interested in the projects that he's interested in, decided he wanted to do this show. So I'm very humbled and honored. Thank you, Bomba, for deciding that you want to start this new type of content with me. It's very, like I said, very humbling. Who would have known we would be doing this from our journey just a short 8 months ago? And with that, I think the way that we're going to do the format is we're just going to do back and forth Q&A. So Bomba's going to pitch me the questions. I'm going to answer them the best I can. Try not to get on top of my soapbox and have a 20-hour discussion. It can happen sometimes. And then we'll leave time while we're doing the Q&A, I think, to just take questions. So mods, if you guys could help me keep track of the questions. If we were sophisticated around here, we'd have a question queuing system and all that. But, just type a Q before your question, and then we'll try to answer them as they pertain to the discussion we're having. And with that being said, I think, shall we get started?
Yeah, let's get started. First, before we do get any questions, first, thank you for having me, or rather letting me interview you on stream. First question, what did you think streaming was before you started streaming, and what do you think it is now? You've been streaming for, what is it, about a year and a half now?
Yeah, since November 18. Mm-hmm.
All right.
So what did I think streaming was before I started streaming, and what do I think streaming is now after doing it for about a year and a half? All right, it's a good question. And by the way, Bomba, you're my first. This is our first Doctor Hood collab, like with another streamer. Like I've been turning them down left and right. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This isn't going towards my stream. This is going to a different project. But yes, the point is still there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Yeah. So let's see here. I think I made the same. So a couple of bits of history. 1 second. Miss Kitty looks better in her chair when it's not all crazy crusty. Before I started streaming, I think I made, well, okay, let me back up. So a tiny bit of history. I was working on a game called Touchfish for iOS, and it was a AAA free-to-play casual game. It was a wonderful game. It was a 4.5-year project. And during the last tail end of that project, probably 2013-ish, something like that, we decided to integrate a version of Twitch into Touchfish. So there were a few other games. I think Asphalt did it as well. So then streamers could stream directly from their iOS devices. Wonderful pieces of hardware, very capable of doing it. You just have to kind of balance it a little bit. So that I knew what Twitch was before that, and I would watch some things. Like I'd watch Grubby a little bit here and there as I'd played Heroes of the Storm. Because he was he always had VODs and things like that I watched even before Twitch was a thing. So I was familiar with it, but I was always of the mindset where I was like, I play games all the time. Why would I want to watch games being played when I could be playing them? We're always min-maxers of our time and experiences, right? And so I didn't really catch a strong bug. I didn't mind if I watched Grubby's VODs or if I watched them live. I caught a live show, it was okay. I kind of liked watching the VODs because I could just pause them whenever I wanted, right? It's kind of very, very YouTuber-esque in that respect. On top of that, let's see. I think other perceptions I had was that, I made the same mistake. You don't know how deep something goes until you start climbing into it. Like when you jump in the well, you're not quite sure where the bottom is. And, I think I thought that it wasn't as much work as it actually is. It's not to say that streaming is a lot of hard work. It is hard work, don't get me wrong. But, you can at any point these days essentially flip on a camera, flip on a device, and just go to town. but there's also the technical side and trying to understand that. And that we're at a point now where the barrier to entry for streaming is much lower than it's ever been. So almost anyone can stream anything they want without much issue, which is great, right? So now that we don't have to deal with as much technical issues, then you have to start thinking about what goes into a show. So, and not only do you spend time in front of the camera and interacting with your audience and spending time thinking about the show, it kind of permeates all things of your life. So even though I do it part-time, about 20 hours of screen time a week, there's another 5 hours that goes into like miscellaneous stuff, pet projects that surround the stream. And I would just say that, that the work, the socials, the interaction, the community stuff, everything else is so much more than you actually realize it takes. And I think the sad thing is that when a lot of people look at streamers, they go, oh, like how hard is that? It's always easy to trivialize anything, right? And to say, you're just playing video games and talking to people, and there's a real craft to it. And as you get passionate and deeper into understanding the craft, you realize how much more time it just takes. It actually becomes a bigger part of you than I expected. So I think those are the big things that really changed for me before and after, understanding more how much work goes into a stream, and all the ancillary things about growing and community and spending time doing this thing that you love. But you also, it takes a force of will to try to be consistent, try to deal with the tech, to deal with the process, to deal with the content. And you have to develop something that you can lean on when your life just explodes, not for streaming, but for whatever reasons. And then you want to get back to it. So you have to have these methodologies. And luckily for me, being in the project management space, I have these things that really help me work, even though I don't feel like working. Because not every day you feel like streaming. Not every day you feel like doing art reviews or content creation. So I think those are the big things.
All right. And just to further explain for the audience, like when we were in the planning stages of this and we're going over the questions, you added probably over half the question list in about half an hour. So it's one of those things where I think you, having been streaming for a while and doing it regularly, much more regularly than I have, I think that gave you like more of a knowledge base to draw those questions and answers from. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, you kind of just went into this, but what got you into streaming in the first place?
So in 18, I was in a really good space where a contract that I was doing with my group of folks had ended, and a lot of us have been together a long time, so it was really a good opportune point, and we had a little bit of downtime. And so first and foremost, you have to know that my relationship with advertising is a love-hate relationship. I grew up at a time where the TV was always on. It was kind of the babysitter, and a lot of times, Saturday morning cartoons, after school cartoons, and it was always about commercials. You buy the fancy car, it makes your penis bigger. You buy the fancy car, you get to have a better love life. And seeing these things on TV, like this is 80s style advertising, right? And mid late 80s and then early 90s, right? And I would turn the channels off and I would watch them. And I've always been the type of person where, I was always considered a sneaky kid, right? Like the grown-ups are like, go to bed. And I was like, I'm going to bed. See you later. And then I creep around the house to hear like what the adults are thinking about or speaking about, right? So with that being said, I really despised the subtext to advertising. It felt very slimy and dirty. And, and we've all grown up in a lot of ways through internet advertising and, all the different things and banner ads and, clickbait and all these other things that are always just competing for our time and attention. There's not a lot of genuinely truthful advertising in a way that doesn't oversell, right? Like, a lot of times selling, one of my favorite sayings is selling is serving, right? That you're serving the people that you sell to, and anyways, I digress. But so I was at the end of this point. I dove into this this coaching business I was doing a little bit on the side in terms of project management and internet advertising, and I really wanted to challenge myself and my expectations to do something different. And because I had this relationship with advertising, I also wanted to understand how to better advertise on platforms like like Facebook, and to do genuine advertising for products, and finding people that had real problems that need to be solved, research the problems, and offer them genuine products and genuine solutions that were good for them, where people walk away feeling like they found a solution, right? And I knew I didn't like what advertising was. I knew I wanted to think about potentially being able to just work for home and earn by advertising, et cetera, et cetera. So I really learned and did an incredibly deep dive into Facebook advertising and what it meant to advertise on Facebook versus Twitter and blah, blah, blah. It's a really long haul. I'm not going to go deeply into it. But this is where I spent a crazy amount of my time. For months, I was just head down as deep as I possibly could, and testing ads and stories and writing, so many things that are bringing creativity to advertising and being genuine and dealing with the relationship that I had with advertising. It was very important to me to undo this knot of perception that I had. And it's still truth out there, but if I was going to do something I despised, I needed to figure out a way to get right with that. So during this time, of course, what do I love? I love gaming. I'm a hardcore gamer and competitive. There's so many things I love about gaming. So I thought, well, we're at a point now where why don't I reach out and offer products and services to gaming culture, and hardcore gaming culture, that as well. And so I started mixing, amongst other things, but I started mixing messages and adverts and stories, primarily about teaching people how to sell online, and to do that through things like Facebook. There's a great science, lots of data behind it. And so I started writing adverts that were very much targeting something I knew, right? Like, if you don't, either you have to go out and find the knowledge, or you figure out a way to bridge the knowledge. And so I did a little of both while I was learning this. So from there, I got a lot of responses from people, because I had like a coaching page and a bunch of other things on Facebook that were also just good for keeping engagement. And a lot of people then were tapping me on the side, and they were saying, hey, I would like to get into streaming. I want to stream on Twitch, or I want to be a streamer, or I want to be an influencer, or I want to do these things. Can I actually earn money? What does that mean to do that? What does it look like? And I'd known Twitch before. I'd actually spent some time on Twitch, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, I understand this thing that I was doing, and I researched more Twitch, and I kind of fell into the hole of just like, let me really get a lot more crisp on what it means to be a streamer in this day and age, and to be an influencer, and to have a community, and to be a community leader, all these things that you see in great streamers, I think. And so I was like, all right, I can't really coach and teach people about something that I am not actually doing. And so I started doing it, and I did the typical, like, 7 days a week for like weeks on end. I was like learning everything, and it was tech and lighting, and it was just like drinking from the fire hose, right? Again, I was in this place where I had an opportunity to learn a lot. So, and I jumped into all of that, and then I realized I actually enjoy it a lot more than I thought. I mean, look, my passion is games, among other things. I've kind of got a generalist mentality in that respect. But yeah, I got to the point where I put the marketing side of the business and the coaching side of the business just on the back burner. I do this as a hobby. Since then, I have a new gig, a new thing that I'm into, that for my day job. So this is truly just a passion for me. But that's where it kind of started from. It came from a love of wanting to better understand how to be a streamer, and in becoming that, and being a person that could serve and sell to other people and offer advice and wisdom, I became the thing that people wanted to become.
Awesome. I swear I had a comment there, but I lost my train of thought. So before we move on, question from Jose Jalapeno: Who did you look up to on Twitch before you started streaming on Twitch?
Who did I look up to? Yeah, it's a good question. I went and I took a look at the giant streamers, right? I was like, okay, let me see Dr. Disrespect, Dr. Lupo. Let me find all the doctors, right? And I think Dr. Lupo runs a fantastic stream. He's very humble. He does a lot of good work. I went to TwitchCon TwitchCon 19. And when I went to TwitchCon 19, after I'd become a streamer, you keep finding streamers and streams that you like. Hello Biff was one of my first aha moments, right? Where I was meeting different streamers and kind of looking at their communities and just trying to understand better the things I liked for myself and the kind of streamer I wanted to be. And Hello Biff's community and his bedside manner and the way that he runs his I think his show is fantastic. I love how he is as a human. I like his sense of humor. I like that he cares deeply about his community, and he's a small community streamer under 100 people. And he's been doing it for a few years. He's a partner. And I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed just spending time with him. And I'm a big supporter of Hello Biff's channel. And we took time aside to make sure we chat and talk about things, which is great. I consider him a good friend of mine. And a big part of the DNA in my channel and community and being a community streamer in the way that we are, with more community focus than more focus on the game. Came a lot of inspiration came from Hello Biff. So Hello Biff was probably, and I think the aha moment, right? This is the real thing, is, like I said, I watched Grubby, I watched these other streamers beforehand, and like I spent time there, but I never got onto Twitch. I was never like, all right, let's get onto Twitch and then see who's doing what today. I never once ever looked for the streamers they're on and then felt sad that they were not on. And there were some genuine times where I wanted to just hang out with Biff. I was like, oh, I hope Biff's on. And I'd get on Twitch. I didn't really know his schedule. And sometimes he wasn't on. And I'd be like, oh, that's a bummer, right? Like I was like, oh, and he got me. He converted me into someone that wanted to be part of his community, someone that wanted to come and check in just to see how he's doing, see what's going on with his life, right? And I think he's one of those. He helped me understand that moment where it's beautiful when people show up and they want to spend time with you. It's beautiful that we've clocked months and months and months together, and we have this sort of carbon dating of experience, right? And I love knowing these details about our community. And it's amazing when you show up and people know you and they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? And they know you got something big going on in life or whatnot, and people that just care. This is the foundation of internet community, right? And I was never a huge chat room person back in the day, but I did make sure I did some chatting, right? I always try to make sure I play with technology. I'm not huge into social, but I've got social accounts everywhere, right? And make sure that I understand the value and the discourse and things that people do to connect like this. So I think Hello Biff is definitely high up there on my side of things. Scene of Action, this dude is amazing. I got to shake his hand and spend some time with him at a talk at Twitch Con 19. And, this guy, I mean, he's got 5, 6, 7 PCs running arrays of cameras, and like his, he is the closest thing to watching an MTV video, like in live action, that I've ever seen. And it's amazing to watch. And he does his recording on stream and his authoring and his production work. And then he plays his albums, and, he gets it. I every time I go to Scene of Action stream, I look around and I go, boy, I'm having a good time, but man, I've got so much work I want to do on my own stream. It's so inspiring. So, I mean, the list is much longer than that. There are many, many people in our community that I definitely appreciate, but those are probably the gold standard stars that I set, and that give me a lot of inspiration.
All right. Awesome. That's the first community submitted question, even though technically these are all community submitted questions.
Yeah, I love it. Please keep me. I'm mostly staying focused, so I'm not reading chat as much. So just, hit me if something comes up.
Zay's putting them in the document as they come along.
Beautiful.
So thank you, Zay. Okay. So your community, like, what is your community? Like, what do you call your community? Who are the key members, like mods, longtime viewers, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so we call our community, was named by our community. I think Besmal Pluton, I think he came up with it first. He's like, we should call ourselves the Doctorhood. No, it wasn't Best. It was someone else. Remind me. I think it was Alexis. I have to dig it out. Well, he unfortunately got into crazy amounts of overtime, and we haven't seen him in a good year, so he's fading. But he's been in there somewhere. So in the core DNA, he was like, hey, let's try the Doctorhood. And it kind of stuck. I was like, okay, cool. We're doctors, my own DrBossKey username is a small backstory. I won't get into it in a second, but basically what we stand for, right, is we're all about, I like to refer to myself as like a DJ of human experience, right? I love filtering things through myself. I love to go through Reddit and just drop things that make people happy and smile. They're kind of my funny bone. And we're also very much into communication. I call myself a virtual bartender. It's sort of like the old Cheers show where, you have a place you can come in and we know we're going to get to know you. We're going to get to appreciate you and celebrate you. And we know if you're going through hard times, and we know if you're on the verge of getting big things to happen. And that feels good. That's the core of community. I think those are the real big tenets of what we stand for. We also are very much, we're nerds. I love and am humbly appreciative of people that find something to nerd out on, that just go deep on. Doesn't matter what it is. Just the fact that you can go deep and you want to learn more things about that thing and you have things to share, instead of being in a place where someone's like, hey, I don't care about the thing you're thinking about, so let's get back to what I'm into. We're different in that we want to welcome people just to share the things they're into, and to feel comfortable, weird, great, awkward, strange. There's no limit in our community. We welcome everyone. And, a lot of times you don't get that in a lot of places. So we're like-minded. We've been finding wonderful people. I think our core folks, a lot of them are here right now, Zay and Shishi and Rolly Boy and Oven Feline and, Bomba, you've been part of our community for over 8 months, man. And we've got to learn lots of things about you, and I appreciate our relationship. Taradra, it was fantastic spending time with him. Who else do we have? I mean, we have a whole community showcase dedicated to so many folks. I think the other thing that's important to know is that we're very streamer friendly in that, a lot of streamers are like, oh, you're going to steal our community. You're going to be better than me. And there's like this weird sense of competition. I get it. I don't go to other streamers and advertise my stuff and try to pull people away. It's not the way to go about spending time and raising everyone up. But I find for us, being able to be a place where I'm humbled if a streamer comes in and they're like, wow, how do we learn to do these things? And I've always been very open to coaching and offering advice and sharing just the things that I've learned. I think Johnny Geyser is a great example. I mean, Johnny Geyser, almost a year ago now, maybe even longer, he started streaming because he hung out here like a lurker for weeks. Like he was lurking for like 3-4 weeks. And then he got up the courage and he started chatting and he was like communicating and sharing with the community. We're all very welcoming, and we got in this space where we're getting to know each other a little bit. And then on the side, he's like, hey man, I really want to get into streaming. Do you have any advice? And I gave him some advice on that. And he's like, I find your stuff very inspiring. And, if I can do it, anyone can do it, right? It's just elbow grease and finding your interest and just rolling with that. And the fact that I have somehow inspired people to become streamers is a blessing. And, I like that's the state we're in, then that's our community. And that's a lot of people with different interests and ideas. And, I love just being a place where we can all, come together and just enjoy each other's company.
I can agree with that. I will also know that this community has brought out my creative writing side by a lot. Between the fanfic I've written for here and all the stories that this place has inspired me to written, what he just said is only 1,000% true. So, good. Awesome. What special gimmicks do you have in your little corner of the Twitchiverse?
Special gimmicks, huh? Real quick, Zay put out Ruslo wrote and said, I'm new here and I feel so welcomed. I can only hope to be half as good as DrBossKey when it comes to the community stuff. I didn't start streaming because of DrBossKey, but I love how he manages the community. Thank you, Ruslo, for that. Yeah, that's very kind of you. Very kind of you. The secret is, Ruslo, is that it's not just me, and I can't stress this enough. If you don't have money, don't worry about it. If you have time and attention and opportunity, you want to work towards something, as you collect and find and meet more like-minded people that are willing to spend the time with you, think about your opportunity to share and build the thing together. Because if the mistake that streamers make is they think it's very egocentric. I have to do this. I have to be responsible for this. And ultimately, as a community leader and the main core part of your brand and your stream, you are ultimately responsible, absolutely. But if you try to shoulder it all and strong arm it into something that only you can control, I'm not saying that's not impossible, but it's much better when you find people that you can rely on and share with. I mean, that's why Twitch is amazing when they talk about mods. And like TwitchCon 19, they were like, and to the mods, like, let's celebrate the mods, because for every great streamer, there are equally great mods that help keep everything rolling and running. And it should not be discounted, because there's a lot of work to be done, and it's a lot of time that a lot of streamers spend and people spend together, and they're very responsible for creating so much good content. As I like to say in our own community and show, well, I might be behind the camera and the guy doing the speaking. Every time someone asks a question or answers a cool Dr. Bud question or shares something about themselves, we're all creating this content together. Anyways, so tips and tricks, or secret tricks, right? Things that are part of the show. And that was the question, right?
Yeah, special gimmicks.
Special gimmicks. Okay, well, special gimmicks. So it took me a while to get to this point, but I realized, and our good streamer friend A Knight, also I met at TwitchCon, super cool guy, lots of interesting ideas. I think he got inspired because we started adding things like the Loki animations, right? And this is just me learning After Effects and being able to work with our wonderful artists. And as the DrBossKey world has been shaping up, we've had the opportunity to create an on-stream presence with characters from the world, and the way that their stories map back and forth together. And so what I'm finding is that I really enjoy a ton having these toys, I call them, that I utilize. And I found that even during hype videos and, as responses sometimes, and they're starting to make their way into, typical alerts, just having this expression that we've spent weeks and months and hundreds of hours on, and seeing that become part of the show is it's very much the DrBossKey world, in so many different ways. That's one thing. And then, I think the other side of it is I've got a healthy amount of seasoning on my bones. I'm 43, and I started life very, very early. I was out on my own, and making my own way in the world. And my son was ready to be born when I was just 15. So I learned very much the hard way. I worked very hard, and I was very lucky in lots of ways, and went out and found a wonderful cross section of just things I'm interested in. As we get older, we find things that we're interested in, and we want to try new things. And so for me, some of the other kind of special gimmick bits are that, yes, I can play games. Lots of people play games. And I like commentary. I like being funny. I like stand-up comedy. I enjoy little bits of animation and art, and not being too apologetic for my level of skills, but being wonderfully able to work with other people and to collaborate to make what we've been making. And so I think, in terms of special gimmicks, the Twitch channel is not only as a chronicle for the DrBossKey world at this point, but it's also just an unapologetic opportunity for me to just share the things that I enjoy. Here we are with our visualizer, right? That has interactivity based on my voice. Like, I enjoy that. And as I find new toys, I love making mouth sounds and just doing things that are exciting and happy, even when it comes to the bot. Like when we do our Dr. Bot questions, even though it's a silly set of sequenced bits, it's a flat file that has 1,500 questions in it, all designed for us to be able to just find things that help us have conversations. One of the things I really love about the show is that we have shows where we're crazy silly and we're just having a good time, and we're being hype and just expressing ourselves. People like to say that they feel like they're doing drugs when they come and spend time here. And we go from that to then talking about having a healthy discourse about how government can improve, education. And then we have amazing conversations about that. And then we go and we play games, and then we do silly things. And then we're playing with a looping machine, or we're cruising around on Reddit and just doing stuff. It's like the secret sauce is this cross nexus of being engaged, trying to be present with your community. Not all the time in the same capacities, because that people like watching battle royale victories and things like that. It depends on the experiences, right? But we are discovering these experiences together. So it's one part that it's one part just not being afraid to just express yourself and find different ways to express yourself and to create content together. Some of the best things we've created together weren't even my ideas. You know, like action text is a great example of that, which I know you really enjoyed, Bomba. You're right. Like it's, you know, it's just like a little light D&D flavoring text and color that describes the actions of characters or things happening in chat. And I found silly, fun things where when you go out as a streamer, you touch all these different communities and you always try to find time to spend with those communities that can be meaningful. And I found that it's wonderful when you do an action text where you describe putting a gift box down in front of someone. You describe what the gift box looks like and they can like see it. Everyone can see it in chat. And then the person you put the gift box down in front of, you describe how like it sprouts forth mechanical legs and starts to run away. And then you go, I wonder what they're going to do. This is very much the game master, storyteller, DM in me, right? And then they have an opportunity to do something. And if they choose to do something, run over and grab the package, get a hook shot and pull it back, whatever they're doing, then I can do the payoff, right? Then I write something that just is off the top of the head, like package explodes in a shower of wonderful gossamer winged dragonflies or whatever it may be, right? Like understanding that not only when you are present in another community, and yourself as well, I encourage these things when they're happening for me as a streamer. I get to read these little bits of action text and then ad lib on top, which is fantastic. But just taking those interests that I've had, all kind of swirled together to create our kind of special gimmicks, I guess, if you will. And that's not even the tip of the iceberg. I mean, and then I'll move on. But basically, one of the other things that we do in the community is it's the game developer me, right? So we have a couple currencies. There's technically 3, I guess, at this point. But one of the currencies is a special currency we just call boons. And as we have progressed over the show, and we've done these experiments with like Devlin, or like ask the devil a question, and he's a little puppet guy that we work with, or maybe it's just someone needs a Nord mead badly, and it gives people the opportunity to earn these things. They get it for all the normal things. There's nothing special there. Like if you subscribe, that's very special. Don't get me wrong. Or if you follow, or if you raid into the channel, like there are all these ways people can earn them. But more importantly, premium currency, premium C. That would be the gong for the boons. And then you get to find the thing you enjoy about the show, and you get to come in and then request it. Sometimes we have to like time slice it, but it gives people, and it's important to me as a game developer, to give people agency over the stream. Now, does that scale to 10,000 people? Probably not. But I'm not worried about that right now. You can't always build everything if that's the goal. Not that my goal is to have a 10,000 person stream, but it's important, I think, for people just to know that they have the opportunity to make requests. Not every request is always honored at that point, but it's important to be able to acknowledge people. Sometimes someone has a really good response, or they have a really personal share, and it's really humbling for me to just recognize them and to give them something special that then they can use anytime they want, on the channel. So, yes.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Audio stuff is breaking. What's new in the world?
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I rang the gong there just using the sound effect. I've used many a boon in my time around here. All right, so what are some magic moments that have happened while you are streaming?
Ooh, magic moments, huh? Let me see here. Well,
the answer is there's probably a lot of them.
Yeah, I'll cherry pick a couple of the really good ones. Real quick here. What's up, Kitty Cam? I wanted to comb my chair, but I did not. So, 1 second. There we go. That's my OCD. Okay. Some magic moments that have happened to me as a streamer. One of the moments that I've had recently or not recently, I guess this is, well, there's a lot of different moments. So there's a couple ones that were really just eye-opening. So we had a friend, and she was new to Twitch. And so she spent time with us on Twitch, just for, I don't know, it was maybe like a short week or two, right? But we got to learn about her and get to know kind of what she was dealing with in life. And she had this day where she was driving for this interview. It was a very important interview. She really needed the money. It was big in her life. and her car breaks down and she's got to get a tow truck and it's going to cost hundreds of dollars and she can't afford it. And, like it's just a shit day, right? And after all that was said and done, where does she decide to come at the end of a day like that? And she came to spend her time, her valuable and precious time with us, and we knew the things that had happened. And, when she came back later, like, she got the job and like, things are great, right? Sometimes it's silly, small things like that where you're like, when someone is having a day, if you can be a place that can help them just feel better or feel different or accepted or heard, there is so much that you can do by providing just community space for people to exist. Some life is a pain in the ass sometimes. A lot of people don't have time to hear your shit. It's just the way it is. And and we have a place on Discord for people if they need to share more, and there's places for that. But we have a good opportunity to talk about so many things, and it was really eye opening to me to be a place where after the end of a day, someone wanted to be because they had a shit day and they needed to be cheered up. That was very humbling. And I think something else that was a pretty big moment for me is so with Red Dead Redemption 2, played through all of Red Dead Redemption 2. Lots of trolls showed up and spoiled the ending, but you do what you do. It's Twitch to some degree too. And I when I play sandbox games, I meander a little bit. And I really just like to drink it all in. I usually get a little burned out at around 100 hours or so. So I always try to make sure I get enough time to still finish like the critical story components. And so a lot of our community members were there when we're spending time together. We're very new and much younger at that point. Red Dead Redemption 2 was still a new game, and I won't spoil anything here, but some major things happened throughout the game, and a few of them really got me. They got me, feeling emotional, right? Like I teared up a little bit. I didn't cry, but I was like, ooh, there are some really heavy things that happened. Masterful game in so many different ways, in the way that they allow you to sink yourself deeper into the relationships of the character and the character to the world and the relationship with the character to himself. And then towards the end of the game, some crazy stuff happens. And I get a little choke up just thinking about it. And like my dad's a cowboy and I grew up with horses, and like I can saddle a horse and drive a wagon, and I know what double trees are and single trees, and like I grew up in a way, being a technology kid and a gamer. My dad was from a whole different place, so and we made that time to connect. So I also have kind of a soft spot for horses and guns and like all the things that are very cowboyish in that respect, Western. And I get to the towards the end of this game, and they get me a couple times where like, I got leakage, like tears are coming out, like they're streaming down my face, right? And you're trying not to use your most awful, like I'm gonna just fall apart crybaby face, like you got to have a stoic man cry, right? Chat is losing their freaking minds. People are crying. They're crying emotes everywhere. The music is up. I get a little teared up just thinking about it. And people are whispering on the side. They're like, "We're right there with you, man." Like it's like it was really intense. And I couldn't have told you that, and it's intellectually, you're gonna win battle royales, you're gonna win games, you're gonna do well, you're gonna complete things are gonna happen, right? But I never could have intellectually told you that emotionally, not only are you as a streamer experiencing this, like I could have easily screwed up in those experiences, right? I could have started reading chat, could have made jokes, like, but instead I chose to be there, to be present, to let the art move me. And I'm mature in that respect. I had a really crazy cry. Like I get a little choked up thinking about it. And I was not only representing this on stream, but I was also interacting with the content and letting it just wash over me, and it moved me. And I didn't think it like blew my mind for like 2 weeks. I told my dad about it. I told my friends about it. And I had a very personal experience as a man. And it's not, I'm from a generation, I'm not quite the 1950s man in that respect, but I'm from a generation where, my dad, you don't share your feelings. You don't talk about feelings, you just suck it up and do it, like old man side, right? And I didn't have too many issues with that. I wanted to be a progressive man, always have been. But, emotion and feeling is a thing. And being able to be present and to share it with chat, to share it with community, and to go through that, it it was raw and it was beautiful. And I wouldn't have ever thought that that was something I couldn't have told you before I started streaming it was going to happen to me. Like I could have maybe thought about it, but you know, you have a responsibility as a streamer to be, to some degree, an amplifier, genuine. Yeah, you know, you don't want to necessarily fake. You can be a character streamer. There's lots of things as, but I genuinely think that if you go to think of it this way, if you go to a museum and you go with a friend, and one of you is like, woo, you got your AirPods on, and you're jamming, playing, you like your disco bits, you know, and you're hanging out, like, and you're sort of just, you know, going through the galleries and looking at stuff. It's a different experience than, you know, if you're hanging out with a friend and you go and you like decide to drink it in, to really absorb the art and feel and wonder and be in that space where you can go places and be inspired, you know, and I think streamers carry that to some degree. They have the opportunity to be amplifiers of human emotion and context and, you know, so many things to so many different people. So yeah, those were two of the really big magic moments that happened to me. Full spectrum. There's so many more, but yeah.
Yeah, and I've been one of those people who comes here when they're having a bad day, especially get in light of recent events that I've vented about in here. But that's not the topic of the interview. The topic of the interview is, well, what we've been talking about.
Well, and Bomba, I mean, I think that's something that's pretty special, right? In that it's hard when you're having a bad day to show up and be all like unhappy and to say that you're unhappy and to have a conversation where the whole stream doesn't just go down into the unhappiness hole, right? Like we're trying to raise people up and allow them to feel heard. And you know, that it's a special skill that I'm still, I think, forever developing, in that, you know, it's okay. People don't have to fake it when they're, you know, when life is just being life, you know, like we can't get into fully in depths, but sometimes just being acknowledged is enough, and being able to move through those conversations. I always marvel at that.
Yeah, completely agreed. Where was I? Yes. What do you want people to get out of your stream? We kind of touched this, but
I think, you know, if people can smile, if they can feel happy, if they feel belonging, you know, if they feel entertained, you know, very much the stream is about entertainment. You know, I'm happy with that. You know, if people, I enjoy that when we play through a game from start to finish. It takes a while, but we get there, you know, and I like that we can have these journeys together where we have shared experience, you know, and I stream enough for that to happen, and we have our own kind of pace for doing it. And I think those are the main takeaways. You know, I want people to feel welcome and you know, and to feel like they matter, you know. As you know, my buddy Hello Biff would say, he'd said, you know, and I'll paraphrase this a little bit, but he's like, you know, I just want to be human to people that may not have had the opportunity to have humans just be human to them. So many people get wrapped up in all of their shit, and people aren't very kind to each other. And for me, it's important to facilitate and to try to be a leader and a person that can create a space for all of us to just have that experience.
All right. A quick production note before we go on. We've been recording for almost exactly 45 minutes at the moment. My internet's probably going to go kabloots. Hopefully not. I've triple checked everything, and we're only halfway down the question list, and I've been skipping some questions, so we're doing really well here.
Yeah, great.
Alrighty.
Hit me with the big ones. The big ones that are important to you.
What have you learned from streaming?
What have I learned from streaming? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. I mean, you kind of delved into it in different aspects, but as a whole.
I think, you know, one of the things I've learned from streaming is that whenever you get deeply into something, it affects you over time. You should always, this is a thing, this is a, you know, a truism of life, right? I walk through the world and there's part of my brain that goes, wow, I wonder what my stream would think about this. I wonder what the community would think about this. I wonder if someone would enjoy this. And so I bring the aspects of streaming now into all these other things. Like we're always this walking collection of experiences, and you never know how one experience will influence other experiences. You know, like we're one of my little special pet projects is we're working on this DBK RPG. It's like this classic 16-bit, 16-bit style Final Fantasy active time battle system thing where chat can play. We're still working on it. And I'm jamming on like creating the classes. You have all the normal classes, like, you know, like, and because it's I'm making it an RPG maker, you can, you know, basically imagination's the limit. If you want to run your class, you can. And so part of the party and the experience, I found myself, you know, creating a streamer class. And I would have never told you that in an RPG game that there would be a streamer class with streamer class abilities and things that are about the party. And it, you know, it never stops. Like things like this, you know, keep happening to me. Like another good example is that, you know, Ashley Christ, a good shout out for her. She has a lot of great content. I've been following her stuff for quite some time. And you know, same thing with like Apex Gaming with Harris Heller and a few other folks like that. And you know, I think some of the other things that I've learned are like, you know, I want to be a stand-up comedian. I got plenty of time. You know, I like to write jokes here and there, and I like to obviously speak, and I love telling stories. I enjoy the modern comedic routines. And you know, one of the things that I wanted to do, because the show is about this expression of creativity for me, I would love to dive deeper into doing stand-up comedy as a Twitch stream. But one of the first things you need to think about is, well, as I've learned from streaming, right? Like, you write jokes based on how the audiences respond. If you write jokes and you're waiting for people to like type a one in chat or like to haha or emote, like you get somewhat feedback, but you have at least a 5-ish second or longer delay, because you never know how delayed the stream is for folks, right? You tell a joke and they're responding to something in chat from 20 seconds ago, and you have no ability to refine your content. And so when you create content as a streamer, and this is one of the things I'm learning, like you have to ask yourself the question, what is the audience's participation? Like, this isn't a typical one-way show. You can run streams like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, what makes Twitch beautiful is you have this ability for interaction. And so you wind up having to solve problems in spaces you don't expect. So that's something I've certainly learned. The other side of it too is, you know, everything always takes longer than you expect. Expect things to break. Always try to put yourself in a place where you have enough time to account for breakage. You know, like a good example, you know, is 2 hours trying to get the stream back together after, you know, a bunch of things happen. That's just technology. You take updates and patches and things like that. Try to lock it down as much as you can, and only take them when you have time to make the risks, because every time you take an update, it could be the thing that crashes your system, breaks your streaming client, you know, where you have to wait for a patch. So always try to, you know, to leave time for yourself to realize the kinds of experiences that you know, that you're streaming for. I think those are the big things. I mean, I could go on and on and on, lots and lots, but I for brevity, I think those are the big ones.
All right. And just as a side note for everyone watching, it is a fact of life that there's only one thing, and one thing only, that technology is guaranteed to do: fail catastrophically. What pearls of wisdom do you have to share with aspiring streamers? Yes, I know I just did delay test with the 4 command. And
pearls of wisdom. Good.
While you're entering that, I'm going to go run and triple check and make sure nothing breaks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what pearls of wisdom can I offer to streamers? Give yourself time. So many times I meet streamers that are running around frantic, trying to do it all. You know, like there are these echo chambers out on the internet about like, you got to do your socials, you got to do your posts, you got to do these things. Like, there are all these gottas, and you know, it's great in that there's information out there and there are things to learn, but you always have to step back a little before you just start doing something, and give yourself time to try by doing, but also to realize what works and doesn't work for you. And sometimes you have to jump into things and try them out, but it's very easy to get overwhelmed and overloaded to the point where streaming, instead of being fun, becomes like a job. You know, like, not everything can be fun all the time, for sure, but you definitely want to be aware that if you redline for so long, you'll burn out, and then everything you built, it doesn't completely go away, but it starts to put you in a place where you're not able to be as consistent. And that's, lots of people talk about consistency and things like that. So I don't need to talk about that here. But I think the challenge is give yourself time and to realize that starting something is easy. It really is. Spending time doing something takes time, and you never really know how much time something takes until you've worked the process. So always try to give yourself more time. Set deadlines and goals. Like, we don't talk about that stuff here so much, but set yourself up for success, and always try to leave padding for the unknown. Just and then leave time for your life, because a lot of streamers want to make it so hard, so badly. They want to be so successful that they're willing to grind on stream for 12 or 14 hours a day. And I'm not saying that you can't do those things occasionally and do that, but if your regiment is 12 hours a day, there are parts of your life that will suffer. It's just, you only have so much time, and when one of the things to realize is that the people are there first and foremost to spend time with you. They're it's humbling whether you have one viewer, no viewers, or 10,000 viewers. And, I think that the trick is, one of the tricks is that what keeps you interesting is going out into the world, or experiencing. Not everyone has to go out into the world, don't get me wrong, but experiencing things and coming back to be able to share those experiences, to tell the story. Just like, your Twitch community is like your best friend. You should be excited. You should. I think you should, but be excited to come back and share something. For instance, I went to Minsk, and I took I went to a couple different trips abroad, and I didn't really capture a whole lot. You can vlog and all kinds of other bits, whatever. But I think when you go out into the world or you have experiences, chat, because they get to know you so personally and so intimately. There's things that my chat friends tell me that I don't even realize yet. They're like, "Oh, this is going to be this and this, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know me so well. I haven't even gotten to that conclusion yet, right?" Like, those things happen. And a lot of times, a big part of your content and your content base is the lens in which you navigate the world, and those are the things that uniquely make up who you are. So that's a pearl of wisdom. What else is there? And there's plenty of other things, but let me see here. We talked about that.
If we were to go over all of them, we'd probably be here for the next 12 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have any other ones you want to share?
I would say also, in terms of wisdom, pearl wisdom, this takes a long time to get to, right? But don't give too many fucks about what other people have to say. Just try to be as comfortable as you can, and everyone's a work in progress. No one's perfect. Just try to be comfortably who you are. I have lots of real life friends. Lots of real life friends. They're amazing. I have many friends. I got to the point where I started sharing with them the fact that I do this. Sometimes family members, I let them know that here's where I'm at, and if they want to come hang out, great. If they don't, no problem either. And some of my closest friends have described me as being a more amplified version of myself, but it feels genuinely like when they watch me, they're like, yeah, that's you. I know streamers will say, don't try to pretend to be like this streamer and that, and it's good advice, don't get me wrong, but I think instead of thinking about it what not to be, think about it in the context of when you are doing a show or being in your community or being present, try to realize that as you being a work in progress, you want to find the things that are just for you and share those. Try to become as comfortable as you possibly can in your own skin. And this is more of a mantra for life. But when you're giving people a window into your world, into who you are, they're growing along with you, and it's kind of the journey we're on. I think those are, those are the big pearls.
Ready? All right. Okay, I triple checked all my systems. We are good for at least another half an hour. Glorious. Will you make a baby with me? Wait, what?
Tell me. What was that? Will you make a baby with me?
Yeah, that was your question. That was your silly question, so what that was.
Well, Bomba, I mean, shall we have a love child?
Probably not.
Well, this is how it's going to work, right? So this is apparently this is Twitch culture. So you start streaming, I subscribe to you. We're going to normalize a little bit. And 9 months later, we're going to make a baby. And I'm going to write some strangely wonderful text when it happens, just like I do for all my friends.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, well, now that I know why that question exists, even though that's only the first trust me, I have a lot more questions to go through, but before we do, I want to get my silly question out of the way.
All right.
In any game you have ever played on stream, what's your favorite or most memorable DS the area moment? And for those of you in the chat unaware, DS the area is a phrase used by bomb text, which means get the hell out of this area.
Yes. Okay, but because we had a cheer in the middle of that, thank you very much, Taradra, for those wonderful bits. Taradra says, I ship DBK plus Bomba. Chatterbait win. Where?
Damn it, Taradra.
Together we unite! Okay, so one more time, Bomba. Hit me. So DSing, running, you get the hell out, the bomb's gonna blow, we're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
Bomb's gonna blow. What is your most memorable DS the area moment in any game you've ever played on stream?
Ooh. That's a tough question. I mean, my brain's flipping through all these different games at this point. One of those really big ones. You know, I think a recent one, you know, like there are bigger ones, but a recent one that kind of sticks in my mind is we were playing Bloodstained, and we went into a sequence where there's this train sequence with Zangetsu, and like it's badass, and you're running and like running through this like this kind of subway thing, and then you wind up fighting this crazy boss, and you're under this time pressure all throughout the sequence, and you know, I got into that space. And we cleared it the first time. So it's always fun when you're like, oh, this is a really intense situation. I want to not screw it up. And so we got through that and defeated the boss. And like, it definitely put me in that, like, you know, I always like to say, not a big fan of like timers and countdowns in games. There are exceptions to that, you know, but when they're used in a way that creates a decent amount of fair time pressure, that can be enjoyable. So yeah, that was, yeah. So the Bloodstain and the train sequence.
Mighty interesting. Bloodstained was the first game I ever watched you play. Way back when.
See, we're dated. Ooh, that's the other thing about Twitch, right? So, one is I didn't realize that I would watch, after I play games, I would enjoy watching people play games as much that I've already played as I do. Like, you always get that extra perspective, just a quick side note. And then two, the other one is that, just like you just mentioned here, Bomba, I know streamers like from the games they were playing first. So when it kind of like dates us in a way. Like I remember a lot of times the first thing that I watched them play. And I didn't realize that was as powerful as it actually was. I wouldn't have been able to tell you as a streamer that, well, I guess even before Twitch, but you know, I was still learning to become, I really learned Twitch culture and more about, I firmly believe, like a pearl of wisdom, you know, you as a streamer, you should spend time being a viewer. If you cannot behave in a way that you would want your viewers to behave, it's kind of hard, right? Like I'm not saying, you know, like that's my take. It's not a size that fits everyone, but you know, I like to be engaging. I like to ask good questions. I like to cheer bits and ask questions through TTS. I love people to feel the appreciation. My time is always so finite. So when I show up and I spend 10, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, you know, lurking's another thing, but being active, in the moment, engaged, that's the kind of viewer I love the most. I love when we're going crazy. I love when we're talking about like getting caught up from what happened from the week. I love like figuring out like, hey, what's going on with the job thing? You know, what's going on with family life? You know, just being in the moment. You know, Twitch has become so much more, from what I can tell, lurker culture, and people, you know, people have a lot of shit to do. So lurking is fantastic. You should always appreciate your lurkers. You know, and it's a big part of it. So anytime you can flip what is kind of the norm now and have an opportunity to create something together, you should, I highly encourage you to think about that. And that also starts, like I said, again, with just being the viewer, right? Like putting yourself in the shoes and dedicating time to just learn that craft, because you're going to be inspired by the things that you do as a viewer. and bring that back into your stream, and encourage your other viewers to participate in.
All right. It's like that. Like that was a. I don't know how to describe it. Like that's another pearl of wisdom. A very good pearl of wisdom, I shall note. Let's see.
Yeah, feel
Time
free
to go back down the
recut
list.
all this.
Say that again.
I said, feel free to recut all of this into something that, you know, we can realign the pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, it's all good. This is going to be a lot longer of an episode than I thought it would be, considering we're already at an hour.
We're almost done. Well, we'll give it another 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
were there any questions that we should address from chat?
I have not seen any from chat. Zay's been paying attention, so she would know best.
Okay. Taradra said, learning habits from DBK and Tony TM. Dude, Taradra is a fantastic streamer. What a performer. Is a very smart guy.
Taradra is awesome. Lindog, to answer the question, you just type Q, capital Q dash, and then whatever you want in chat. That's what we were paying attention for. Because when I was asking how to ask a question, I promise I can English today. What do you think streaming will be like in 5 years, or in way off there in 25 years?
Ooh, 5-year and 25-year predictions.
Yeah,
I think streaming in the next 5 years will become more ubiquitous in that it will be pervasive and be everywhere. I think that more and more will be wirelessly connected, and we will have devices just like our phones right now, where it's just easier and easier and easier to flip on a stream and to share. I think the next 5 years, we're probably going to see some fantastic innovations in augmented reality. And I think through that, now you're talking about, you know, I'm a guy that's ready for AR, and, you know, like I wear glasses anyways, so just give me a HUD, right? So I think we're going to see scenarios where, you know, in the next 5 years, we're going to see, I think, AR become a thing, and I think we'll see people stream with AR technology. And I think that it will become more and more, the barrier to entry will continue to lower. And I think more people will find culture and an opportunity and community to stream. I think, you know, when I went to TwitchCon, my first TwitchCon last year, something that was very abundant to me and became very apparent is that, one, it's amazing when you get so many people together, mostly streamers. There are fans and community members as well, but like, you know, Twitch nowadays, from the last 3-4 years, everyone can kind of stream. Even if they decide they don't want to, they can. And it becomes this common language now where instead of just a small group of people that are streaming out to a large amount of people, it's becoming a more mixed environment where people can do collabs and creative bits. And, you know, I think the other thing that's quite wonderful is I don't think we've reached a limit yet. Like, we basically, one of the things that was beautiful, right, is that Twitch predominantly, and Taradra has some great stories about Justin TV before Twitch, and I won't talk about those, but they're really good. But, you know, it was very heavily focused on gaming culture, you know, and you have lots of long form content and so many things that are new, right? Like, it's a new way of bringing gaming to the masses and bringing entertainment in a new way to the masses, right? Beautiful. And then what has happened is that there's still gaming culture, and there's a lot of community that comes around that comes with that. But now, I mean, the just chatting category has been, you know, top 10 most of the time. Like, it's crazy. Like, you see all kinds of stuff. You know, last year there was a guy that I forget his name. If anyone remembers, let me know. If there was a guy that decided to live stream his hitchhiking from like Canada, you know, like down to TwitchCon. You know, like you get people like Sushi Dragon, right, where he's very much into live action dance and like green screen and effects and just kind of pushing like expression, right? And I think we're just seeing a lot of that. Like, you know, I think streaming, because it's interactive, gives you the opportunity to realize collaborative, creative content and streaming of different types of content we haven't even begun to fully tap into. You can stream anything these days, you know. And it, you know, this is like a nice science fiction trope too, right? But so 25 years. So I'm gonna take a page from I think it's Men in Fancy Suits. Like, we gotta look this up real quick. Hang on a second. 1 second. Miss Kitty.
Google is your friend.
Absolutely. People. Fancy men. Let's take a look. I'm looking up fancy men.
Oh yeah, we also got 2 new community questions. Whoa. Thank you, Zay. Also, while you are doing the Google search, while we were talking about mods earlier, it's a bit of a shame. By a bit of a shame, I mean we screwed up and not mentioned Elrock.
Oh well, yeah. And there are literally too many people to mention. And yes, Elrock is amazing in our community as our community manager. I mean, think that's one of the other bits in terms of secret pearls of wisdom, right? I did say it earlier, but you can't do it alone. I mean, I have so many wonderful people around me that allow me and enable me to do the things that we get to do. And they are so much a part of running the show that I would be hard pressed to run what we do now without them. I would be impossible. And it's very humbling to be able to work with so many wonderful people. Like as a streamer, you have to build a team and to do the things that you see with other streamers. A lot of people look at the most popular or most successful of anything, and what they don't realize is that it's not an overnight thing. There's no real such thing. There's 10 years of hard work and then a little bit of luck on top of that. Sometimes those things aren't completely true, but that is what it is. And then with all of that, it pays off, and then something happens that's explosive. They find something, and then they become the success that everyone is like, oh, overnight success. You weren't around before that. And then the other side of that is that it takes way more effort and time to build up productions. Like we've been working on some of our characters for months in our DBK universe. Like we have about 10 or so just special projects that are kind of surrounding the stream. And I've got a laundry list that I won't be able to get done for another year, I'm pretty sure, or more, right? So just don't be afraid of it. Get it out of your head, put it into a list, and revisit it when you can. So the book, real quick, is Futuristic Violence in Fancy Suits. This book,
I'm going to have to look at.
Dude, this book is amazing. And dudettes. Okay. So, so the thing in that book, and I'm just going to steal a page from there, right? Like, dystopic future, but they had this thing, and I could be completely bastardizing this, and I'm 99% sure it's out of that book, because I do a lot of reading, and sometimes it all mushes together, especially as it gets further and further away in time. So, real quick, there we go. In this book, so this is answering basically the question of where do I see Twitch 25 years from now? So I think there will be an opportunity for people to have essentially, we'll call it, if they want 24/7 feeds. They basically, they wear their glasses and they got their AR and they've got their cameras, and they can literally walk through life and record everything. It's not anything. It's not revolutionary. There's plenty of things about this, right? And it's a new way of documenting your own history, your own experience as a human being. It'll be indexable. People can switch back and forth between feeds. You can consume other people's feeds. And I think that we will see this potential renaissance where people can get way more sophisticated about digitizing their human experience. And through that, and through like AI and clever, I think, programming and decentralized computing and lots of other good stuff, we'll throw some blockchain on there so, people can have all of their stuff owned, right? They can sell it if they want, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we will have the opportunity to augment ourselves externally in a way that allows you, and maybe this is for better or worse, I don't know, it's just the way it is. I think you'll have the ability. Whoa, Big Blue! Thank you, Big Blue. Big Blue D just subscribed.
Hi. We're doing interviews.
Big Blue says, thank you for oh my God, 11 months, Big Blue. That's so kind of you. Man, and Big Blue says, I couldn't find an anniversary gift, so I came to watch you sans pants. You're welcome. Big Blue! Oh, dear Lord. Thank you. That's very kind of you. 11 months, brother, man. That's amazing. And yeah. Anyways, I can pontificate. So 25 years. people will be able to stream everything. They'll be able to stream, like why not be able to stream your senses? You obviously can stream lots of different types of things. And I think that it can be used as a big data set, but it's a big personalized data set that you create yourself. And as a result, you'll have the opportunity to, never forget a person's face again, for better or worse. Always be able to look up people that you only met once upon a time. How about 360-degree camera arrays that pipe back into your feed, so then you can watch everything. You can watch everything around you, and so now you're essentially a 3D camera, and you're basically capturing your whole environment, and you have both your point of view and that camera, but then you also have this rich context of everything that you've walked through the world and collected it. I mean, everything is just getting cheaper. So I think, 25 years, I think we could see some crazy renaissance in that space.
Awesome. We only got about 10 minutes left, right. So we have 2 community questions. Shall we answer them?
Yes, please.
Okay, Per Lindong, what game has made you who you are today?
What game has made me who I am today?
I promise that's the whole question.
Yep, no, that's no problem. Huh.
Oh, jeez. There's noise in the background.
I think because I was able to start gaming at such an early age, 4 or 5, somewhere in that space, Pac-Man, Pong, Pinball, Atari 2600, ColecoVision, Commodore 64, Apple IIe. I gamed on a Tandy for a little bit there, a 286, a 386. And I never could afford Amiga, but I grew up in this space. So I think maybe I'll flip it a little bit. It's not a game in particular, but it's gaming experiences. So for instance, right, like when I first played Pitfall on the Atari 2600, grabbing a vine and swinging over the alligators, the crocodiles, not getting eaten, like that exploded my brain when I was a kid. I got to be in it, like it was all, back then you only had so many pixels, so you had to like imagine on top of it all, right? Getting to play Space Invaders and things like this. These interactive experiences were core to me realizing that I could be like playing Defender and so many games. I mean, my whole life has been so many games, but that the magic of interactivity and the fact that you can, like, when you get lost in a great book or a movie, you have this thing where time kind of warps and you just fall into it and you're nowhere else other than being fully focused and present in that experience. And games have been this place where, even though things have been not always great for me in my life and around me and my relationships and my family, like there's a lot of just, I didn't grow up with a perfect world. Not anyone really does. You don't leave home when you're 15 because you're the most happiest person on the planet. But gaming is this bridge for me where it's my go-to. It's this place that I feel I can recharge my batteries, where I can relax. I can get lost in these, I like to call them like flavors, right? Like I switch between different types of games based on the kind of flavor of experience I want. Do I want a first-person shooter? Do I want a shoot 'em up? Do I want a shmup? Do I want a classic retro game? Or do some I don't go for as much. I don't do a lot of sim and sports. It's not that I haven't, but they're not high on my list. So I find myself taking a lot of these experiences, and essentially what I'm doing, right, is like, for instance, when I played Zelda on the Nintendo, the NES, I was very fortunate that I had a mother who was ahead of her time. She was into like recording movies on VHS, and she had a VHS collection, a videotape collection. That's how it did it back in the day, right? She almost bought a Betamax. Like, I remember The Thing, right? Like, she would talk about technology. She was interested in tech. She was a techie long before it was appropriate for women to be techies. Not that it wasn't always the case, but she had to buck the trend, right? And she was the reason why I got to discover video games in a lot of ways. Also, my dad, I got it from both sides. My dad realized it was kind of the new hotness, and we had opportunities, and they were kind enough to allow me to buy video game systems for me. I had to work my ass off for them, but I got to do it. Going out to rake yards across the neighborhood so I could save up like $60 to get a game before you couldn't even rent games at that point, right? So my mom discovered Zelda, and she had lots of games on the NES. And I remember, one night, blurry-eyed, I was 6, 7, somewhere in there. I was really young. I wake up and then like 2 o'clock in the morning type of thing, and I go to use the bathroom, and I shuffle out of the bathroom, and I'm on my way back to my bed, and I look over into the front room, and my mom, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Gamers love quiet. I love peace and quiet. Like, I love when the world is, thank you, Big Blue, for that host. I love when the world is asleep and I'm awake, enjoying something that feels so special and personal. And she's playing games, and she's like, hey, come over, come sit with me and play. And we would play together. And I had these moments with my mom, and they were the moments that we got to find over this new medium. Really, it was a brand new thing almost in that respect. And it was beautiful. So it wasn't any one particular game. It was this love that I developed very early on, and the special time I got to spend with my mom. My dad didn't have it as much on his side. He had other things he was into, but that really cut it for me. That really brought it, I think, full sail to me with what has crafted myself as a human being. There are many other places I can go from there. What's the other question?
All right, so we actually have 2 other questions, and I think these are going to fill up the last 9 minutes we have. Okay, so in order, from Liang, how did you manage to have a loving and awesome community? Did you, Doc, somehow already answer this?
Well, I basically just took a page from Zay, and I just used a rolled up newspaper. Whack, whack.
Zay, is that your solution to mini Zay? Just asking.
I think that the short version is a good question, Lee Hang. Thank you for that. I think, look, and this is something that Hello Biff does really well too, right? Like, we're all new sometime. We're all, and you have an opportunity to make an impression. We've all been in the new group at some point. And, if you're not welcoming, if you don't take the opportunity to recognize someone and to appreciate them just for being there, you miss the opportunity. And I think that's an important part, like, remember your pleases and thank yous, be polite, be present where you can. Like, they sound like stupid small things, but this is kind of what foundations of communities run on.
Sorry, I'm no, 1 second. Sorry, I'm starting to lose it because Zay's response to my question was, oh God. Minnie Zay, she has to hit her with a pan, and that her head started to sound like the gong. Oh my God. Okay. Last awesome. Question for one of my favorite people here, Jester.
That was from when we were playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
From Jester, is there a specific game that you wish to be remade sometime soon?
Let's see here. Ooh, let's see here. A remake of a classic. It probably should stay in the back of my brain, but there are probably a few games. One, I'd love to see Faxanadu remade. I really fell in love with that game. Like I said, probably is better in the back of my brain because it was probably more clunky than it was. But, but also I would love to see, Faxanadu was one of them. Oh man, it was in there somewhere. I'd love to see a really good remake of Dino Crisis. I have an itch for shooting dinosaurs. I should probably there's a few games that would scratch this itch, but shooting dinosaurs with guns. And that's right. So I would really like to see a remake of Populous. I'd love to see a modernized version of Populous, but not like Peter's versions that he's been doing of the God games. I want to like distill it back down, go crazy large scale, and then be focused primarily on manipulating the terrain and then watching the cultures develop over that. I think that would be amazing. And you could do some stuff with God abilities and worship and mana and, but I love that. I just love the puzzling of that game. That game blew my brain when I was a kid. Played that on the Genesis. I think those would probably be the big ones. I mean, they're I've got a laundry list of game experiences that I'd like to see maybe remade. I'd love to see them redo an Einhander. Like they'll never be done, but Einhander was something special. Which is a side-scrolling shooter. Beautiful game. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it. It's a fantastic game. All right.
Awesome. I do believe that is all the questions we got time for today. Because I don't want to take up too much of your show, and my internet is, I can already see the warning sign. General bitrate is going down, so
okay.
Yeah, I have to figure out what's up with it. Anyways, thank you so much for allowing me on the show to interview you.
I appreciate it, Bomba. Thank you so much for the time. It was an honor and a privilege.
Yeah. By the way, you gave me a hell of a thing to edit. As of ending the recording, which I will do in a minute, 1 hour, 21 minutes, 45 seconds.
There's plenty to cut up. Well, the good news is that Eddie on is our resident video editor, our full-time video editor. I'm very, very lucky to have this person. He's also going to go through this and chop it up into a bunch of things. So, and I guess some bits for you, Eddie. So we could probably break out the Pearls of Wisdom into their own like small clips, and then stories. But we, do your thing. Just do your thing. So
I just recorded the audio, and I was as I think I covered this earlier. So I was hoping to go back and get the VOD and just match the two up in post.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll upload it into Drive and send a link through the planning chat.
Yeah,
anywho, as I said,
is it a radio podcast, Bomba, or it's supposed to be video, right?
It's complicated. Yes, the short answer is there's supposed to be video on it. Yes.
Okay.
And I have plans for that.
If you reach out to Oven Feline, he can give you a link to just the raw video. So so you can download it.
Awesome. I will definitely do that. Anyways, enough talking shop. All
right. Internet's running out. Gotta go.
All right. Yes, thank you to the community for submitting questions. Thank you for having me. This is going to be a fun project for me to edit over spring break.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to be of service, Bomba. Thank you so much.
Thank you.